So what we're going to be talking about today is what I call spirit-led authoring. And I'll get into what that is. I've been writing books since about 1994, and marketing them online and everything. So I have about 27 books, but I'm best known as Marnie Pehrson. Wrote most of my books under that name. I've got a couple books under the Marnie Pehrson Kuhns. So if you go on Amazon, you can find my books there. I am the creator of Ideal Marketers, and I have a publishing company called Spirit Tree Publishing. So, and more information on what we're talking about today can be found at createawow.com. I actually have a few lessons there you can take for free on book authoring. They're on the right-hand side when you go to createawow.com. So what is spirit-led authoring? You may be wondering what I'm talking about with that. So spirit-led authoring is when you feel inspired to write a book. You're feeling kind of an urge to write a book. You feel maybe like, maybe I ought to write this. Maybe it's a little kind of thing like a niggling sort of thing that nags at you and says, I really ought to write that story about my fourth great grandmother. It was really cool. Or I really ought to, write my own theory on this XYZ. So these spirit-led authored books can look like anything really, but here's some typical ones that I see people do. Is like a self-help book, maybe something you've been through and you can show other people the way out of their trap, or the way out of a bad situation, or just how to make their life better. Maybe you went from depression to happiness. Maybe it's a fantasy novel that you have in mind, or a big hero or heroine story, or, it's something that you've thought up, maybe a metaphor for life or something like that you've thought up to put into a story form. Maybe it's something where like an aha moment you've had, or an ascension of some kind that you've made to, a better way of life, or a new way of looking at things, a new perspective. Maybe it's your journey over triumph. Maybe it's someone you know's journey over triumph. Maybe you've had a child who has gone through something difficult and you want to write his or her story. Maybe it's something spiritual or religious that's on your mind. It could be a family history story. Maybe there's something back in your family history that would really make a great novel. Or maybe it's just your own personal story about what you've been through. Perhaps it's about a hero in your family, or a friend that was a hero, somebody you look up to. Maybe it's a war story. Maybe it's, somebody who's triumphed over something. Or it could even be a children's book. So these are, there could be lots of others, but these are just some of the ones I thought of the ideas that we have sometimes for books. And they grow over time, the kind of the feeling that you need to do it. If it doesn't go away, I call it a spirit-led book. If it just keeps coming back to you every once in a while, or maybe somebody says something like, oh, you really ought to write that. That'd make a great book. That's a clue.